You probably think you remember the moment Jonathan Antoine changed television forever. But what the cameras didn't show was a young man being pushed to the edge of a breakdown before he even hit a single note. Back in 2012, the world saw a nervous 17-year-old in a Jimi Hendrix shirt, but the industry insiders knew a much darker narrative was being crafted behind the scenes. We all remember Simon Cowell's biting remark, suggesting that Jonathan should essentially abandon his best friend, Charlotte Jaconelli, to pursue solo stardom. While it made for good TV, the reality was far more predatory. At that moment, Jonathan was being forced to choose between loyalty and a life-changing contract, while dealing with severe social anxiety that made every second of filming feel like a sensory nightmare. The controversy wasn't just a judge being mean. It was the beginning of a decade-long struggle where Jonathan had to fight against a label that wanted to brand him as a novelty act rather than a serious artist. Even after they placed second, the pressure from the sicko machine was relentless. They were whisked into a £1 million deal, but the terms were suffocating. The industry wanted the boy who shocked the world, but they didn't want the actual human being behind the voice. This period was marked by a grueling schedule that ignored his personal well-being, leading many to speculate that the duo's eventual split wasn't a choice, but a necessity for survival. As we look at him in 2026, it's clear that the shy boy persona was a mask for a much deeper conflict, with a business that nearly consumed him before he turned 20. This wasn't just a talent show win. It was the start of a quiet war for his own identity. And as the duo finally reached their breaking point, the silence that followed would spark rumors that persist to this very day. When the music stopped for Jonathan and Charlotte in 2014, the public was told it was an amicable separation. But the decade of silence that followed suggests a much more shocking reality behind the curtain. For years, fans have begged for a reunion, but in 2026, the distance between the two former partners is wider than ever. While there was never a public blow-up or a tabloid-fueled feud, the transition from a duo to solo artists was handled with a cold, professional detachment that left fans reeling. Sources close to the production back then hint that the solo seed planted by Simon Cowell in that very first audition eventually grew into a wall between the two performers. Jonathan has been remarkably candid about the fact that they haven't spoken in years, a revelation that exposed the manufactured nature of reality TV friendships. In this high-stakes reporting, we've found that the pressure of being half of a whole took a massive toll on Jonathan's sense of self. He spent years being compared to his partner, with critics constantly weighing his talent against hers. This wasn't just a professional move. It was a desperate attempt to find out who Jonathan Antoine actually was when he wasn't standing next to someone else. The rumors of a secret rift have never been fully debunked because the silence is so absolute. In 2026, Charlotte has pursued her own path in musical theater, while Jonathan has retreated into a completely different world. This hidden conflict serves as a cautionary tale for anyone entering the reality TV meat grinder. The industry creates these bonds for the sake of a narrative, but when the cameras turn off, the human cost is often a total loss of connection. But just as he began to find his solo voice, a personal crisis was brewing that threatened to take him out of the spotlight forever. Section 3. Facing the rock bottom and the autism revelation. Hook. While his voice was reaching the rafters of the world's greatest concert halls, Jonathan was privately battling a darkness so intense that he nearly ended his own story before the world could see his true potential. In recent interviews and reports surfacing in 2026, the singer has been incredibly transparent about his battle with his inner demons. Long before the fame, he was in a place so low that he didn't expect to see his 18th birthday. He has hinted at moments where he felt like checking out completely, a victim of a world that didn't understand his unique way of processing reality. The shocking revealed truth came with his late-in-life autism diagnosis. For years, he was labeled as difficult or overly shy, But the diagnosis changed everything. It explained the sensory overloads and the intense anxiety that made the BGT stage feel like a battlefield. In 2026, he describes this realization as the key that finally unlocked his prison cell. However, before that clarity arrived, there were accusations surfaced in his own mind that he wasn't worthy of the success he had achieved. He struggled with a profound sense of imposter syndrome, fueled by the way the media treated his physical appearance. This period of his life was a dangerous time where his mental health was on a razor's edge. He's now an advocate for neurodiversity, but the road to this point was paved with near tragedies that the public is only just beginning to understand. He had to learn how to exist in a world that wasn't built for him, all while being one of the most recognizable faces in the country. This wasn't just about feeling sad. It was a fundamental struggle for his own existence in an industry that prizes normalcy above all else. With his mind finally finding peace, Jonathan turned his attention to his physical self, leading to a transformation that has left the world speechless. If you saw Jonathan Antoine walking down a street in London today, you would likely walk right past him. The man who was once defined by his size has undergone a total physical overhaul that borders on the miraculous. The Jonathan of 2026 is a shadow of his 2012 self, but in the best way possible. Having lost over 5 stone, his transformation is the result of a disciplined, almost obsessive, dedication to his health that many found unbelievable. He didn't take the easy way out with surgeries or fad diets that many celebrities exposed in the tabloids often do. Instead, he started by simply packing. Because of his initial weight, traditional exercise was a massive strain on his body, so he began walking circles in his room, thousands of steps at a time, just to prove to himself that he could move. This wasn't about vanity, it was about survival. He realized that to keep his voice, he had to save his heart. In 2026, his regime is a testament to what he calls the power of the small step. He has been open about the struggle with food addiction, and the way he used it as a shield against the world's judgment. This revealed health journey has made him a beacon of hope for others struggling with their image. But it wasn't just about the scale. His skin, his posture, and even the clarity of his eyes have shifted. He looks like a man who has finally stepped out of a heavy suit he's been wearing for 2 decades. The unrecognized factor is a major point of discussion in 2026, as he now sports a sleek, modern look that replaces the bohemian style of his youth. He has reclaimed his body from the labels the public put on him, proving that he is the master of his own physical destiny. However, this new body came with a new outlook on his career, leading to a shocking pivot that no one in the music industry saw coming. The classical crossover world is a billion-dollar industry, but in 2026, Jonathan Antoine has officially walked away from the major label system to build an empire on his own terms. For years, he was a cog in the machine, but the Jonathan we see today is a multimedia mogul in the making. In January 2026, he released All of Me, a track that blends his operatic roots with a modern, almost cinematic sound that stunned critics who had written him off as a one-trick pony. But the real shocker is his move into the literary world. He's currently finishing a novel, a project that has been kept under wraps for months. He isn't just a singer anymore, he's a creator. By moving into independent production, he has exposed the limitations of the old record deal models. He now owns his masters, controls his image, and decides exactly when and where he performs. This power move has allowed him to avoid the burnout that claimed so many other talent show stars. Reports suggest he's also exploring virtual reality concert experiences for 2027, staying ahead of the technological curve in a way his former labels never could. His new album, Speaking to You, is being described as a personal manifesto rather than just a collection of songs. He's no longer waiting for a yes from a judge or a CEO. He is the CEO. This career rebirth is perhaps the most exposed success story of the BGT alumni, showing that there is a very lucrative life after the 15 minutes of fame end. He has turned a reality TV curse into a global blessing through sheer grit and vision. But even with this new empire, Jonathan remains a mystery, living a life that is surprisingly humble compared to his massive net worth. You might expect a global tenor with his level of success to be living in a Hollywood mansion, but the shocking truth of Jonathan's 2026 lifestyle is far more grounded than anyone would expect. Despite the rumors of a lavish, jet-setting life, Jonathan remains a homebody at heart. He still lives in the same general area where he grew up, surrounded by his beloved family and a collection of guitars and Lego that he says keeps him sane. This humility is what has kept his fan base, the Phantoms, so intensely loyal for over 14 years. In 2026, his legacy isn't just about the notes he can hit. It's about the honesty with which he lives his life. He has survived the peak and valley of fame, the darkness of mental health struggles, and the physical toll of a public transformation. He stands as a symbol of resilience in an era where overnight stars often vanish as quickly as they appear. As we look at his journey from that 2012 stage to the independent powerhouse he is today, it's clear that Jonathan Antoine didn't just win a competition, he won his life back. He has revealed that the greatest talent he ever had wasn't his voice, but his ability to evolve when the world expected him to fail. As he looks toward 2027 and his upcoming album release, Jonathan isn't just Britain's Got Talent's favorite son. He's a man who exposed the flaws of fame and came out on the other side stronger, leaner, and more vocal than ever. His story is far from over, but the 2026 chapter is undoubtedly his greatest performance yet.